How's it going, everybody? Today we have something really special. If you didn't know, I was recently approached by Edge to take part in the 2021 Paleo Rewind. This is an annual collaboration put together at the end of the year where several paleo YouTubers cover some of the different discoveries made in paleontology over the past 12 months. Today is the first in a 12-day series where we'll each be covering different discoveries made each month. Then on January 1st, 2022, Edge will be making a full-length, hour-plus-long video of all of our combined segments. I decided to pick up where Curious Archive left off and go with the second half of January. I'll leave a link to his video if you haven't seen it yet, as well as links to all the other videos and Edge's final collaboration in the description as they're released. And if you're new here, like I'm sure a lot of you are, hi, I'm Steve, and this is Paleo Analysis. On this channel, I make paleo catalog videos where I talk about different specific extinct animals in depth, have a museum adventure series where I go out to different museums and check out the exhibits there, as well as a whole range of other paleo topic videos. So if you check them out and you like what you find, feel free to subscribe for more. Alright, so just doing the back half of January, I still have a ton of stuff to cover, so I'm going to be focusing on the highlights. Let's do a top 5 with possibly one of the most interesting discoveries of the year at the end. To start us off, we have a new caiman-like crocodilian that was identified from Middle Eocene deposits in southwest Texas. Now, going into the late Paleocene and Eocene, the world was warm and humid from pole to pole. This came with an explosion of diversity in the crocodilians. However, this wouldn't last forever, as the diversity of crocodilians would experience a huge bottleneck when the Oligocene began and the global climate started to become cooler and drier. Now, this specimen was found in 2010 in the Devil's Graveyard Formation, but wasn't formally identified as a new species until January of this year. Most of the maxilla was found, and it was given the name Chinatachampus wilsonorum. It is thought that this species might be the oldest and most basal ancestor of caimans, showing more basal qualities than the already known species Protocaiman. That means if this is true, despite this individual living in the Eocene, this species may have been around since the end of the Cretaceous. And now for our second item, we have Dinosaur Butts. I wish I was kidding. So in many different animals today, the urinary, digestive, and reproductive tracts all end in a single opening called the cloaca. This might seem strange, but placental mammals and bony fish are actually the only two groups of vertebrates who don't have this arrangement. So because both birds and reptiles have cloacas, it was always just believed that dinosaurs would. But no fossil evidence was ever found one way or another. Or maybe they just haven't checked. Luckily for all of us, Dr. Jacob Vinther took up the task, re-examining the beautifully preserved specimen of Psittacosaurus that already taught us in 2016 that these early ceratopsids actually had counter shading like many animals today, probably for camouflage. And now, after closer examination of the hindquarters, who wrote that? The difference in pigment and scale pattern led Dr. Vinther to theorize that the cloaca may have been used as a display. In addition, the lobes visible on either side of the cloaca are thought to have been scent glands. So there's that. Thank you, Dr. Vinther. All jokes aside, though, this is a really big discovery that can give us a valuable bit of insight into both the anatomy and behavior of non-avian dinosaurs. And both of those things are really hard to find in the fossil record. Up next, we have some long sought after information about one of the most famous groups of dinosaurs in the world. Tyrannosaur fossils are extremely well documented, but one thing that has always been historically lacking is fossils from extremely young animals. But a team of paleontologists from Canada and the United States has been closely studying fragmentary fossils that they believe could shed some light on this mysterious part of their lives. The fossils include an embryonic jaw with teeth from the Two Medicine Formation believed to belong to a hatchling Daspletosaurus, and a perinatal tooth and embryonic claw found at the Horseshoe Canyon Formation believed to be attributed to Albertosaurus. This is the first time anyone has been able to study fossils from tyrannosaurids in this age range, and since tyrannosaur eggs still have never been found, it could provide clues into their nesting habits. One piece of information that came from this study was that apparently tyrannosaur hatchlings don't have the characteristic serrations on their teeth that we normally think of in older individuals. But some features were definitely present. Like on the embryonic Daspletosaurus jaw, it may not have had the teeth serrations, but it did have the chin. Also, using these fossils, we can estimate the size that the two Tyrannosaur embryos were and get an idea of how big they would be when they hatch. The Daspletosaurus was estimated around 71 centimeters or 2.3 feet long, and the Albertosaurus was around 1.1 meters or 3.6 feet long. For our fourth spot, we have another new species described. A mosasaur from Morocco that scientists have named Xenodens calmanicari. Now, this wasn't a very large mosasaur, especially compared to the giants like Mosasaurus and Tylosaurus, being compared to the size of a modern porpoise. But what was really interesting about this animal is the teeth. They had knife-like teeth that were packed very tightly together to turn the entire jaw into a perfect solid cutting edge, more similar to certain species of sharks than what you would normally see in mosasaurs. This allowed the animal to potentially feed on prey items that were much larger than themselves, either by scavenging or by tearing off pieces of flesh and then fleeing before being attacked. A helpful adaptation for sure, considering the shores of North Africa were populated by a menagerie of sea monsters like long-necked plesiosaurs, large carnivorous fish, giant sea turtles, and other larger mosasaurs. This gives us one more example of how these incredible animals adapted to fill many different ecological niches as they expanded and replaced a lot of the earlier marine reptiles that were more prominent in the Jurassic and early Cretaceous. And now I have the honor of talking about one of the biggest discoveries made in paleontology this year. Thanks again to Curious Archive for letting me talk about it, since technically this did come out in the first half of January. So if you're a follower of me or any of my colleagues here on YouTube, you've probably heard of this one. The direwolf has been quickly elevated to one of the most well-known and charismatic of Pleistocene megafauna, in part because of its depictions in popular media, as well as the truly impressive amount of fossil evidence that has been uncovered. It has risen to nearly the same level of recognition as the mammoth and Smilodon. However, recent DNA analysis has shown that these canids' evolutionary story is far more complicated than previously thought. The new data shows that direwolves actually split off from a common ancestor with North American canids like gray wolves and coyotes between 5 and 6 million years ago. And after studying 46 subfossil specimens, they could find no gene flow between direwolves and gray wolves. So there was no interbreeding ever occurring like we see between wolves and coyotes today. This analysis separates the direwolf so far genetically than what we previously thought that they thought it was appropriate to give the animal a new name, from Canis dirus to Anasion dirus. Now, what is really astounding about this animal is, despite the concrete genetic evidence that we have, how much these two animals look alike. Now this here is a gray wolf, and this here is a dire wolf. And for this reason, you really can't blame scientists for not coming to this conclusion sooner, especially when you consider what else the genetic evidence showed. For you see, let me move these guys back, what we now understand to be the closest living relative to Anasion dirus is this little guy. This is the skull of a black-backed jackal, a small African canid that fills a similar role in the ecosystem to what coyotes fill in North America. This is just one of those remarkable examples where the morphological evidence might tell us one thing, because if you look at these two animals, anyone just glancing at them would guess that these two are closely related. But when you look into an animal's genetic code, sometimes you might find something that you never could have expected. Now, if you enjoyed getting a little bit of a closer look at the hardware of some of these creatures, I intend to cover the dire jackal as well as many other prehistoric creatures in future Paleo catalog videos. And with that, I want to thank you for watching the second installment of Paleo Rewind 2021. I had a lot of fun making this video and working with several YouTubers who have actually been a huge inspiration for the creation of this channel. I want to thank Edge for bringing me on, as well as send you to his channel next, because he will be picking up with the discoveries made in the beginning of February tomorrow. And then don't forget to check out the full-length compilation video on his channel on January 1st. I hope everyone has a great holiday season and a happy new year. Have a good one, everybody.